All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the D&H hosted Next Generation Desktop Solutions webinar. Excited to have all you here. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. We have tons of great information for you. We have some great representatives from both of these companies here to just kind of dive in and go through all the features, new enhancements, all the glory of the Intel Arrow Lake 200S desktop processors combined with ASUS motherboards. Today, I'm joined with David Bartley, who is our channel account manager from Intel. We also have Michael Vo, the field application engineer manager for ASUS. We're going to take you through a wealth of knowledge, but feel free to ask questions along the way. We can keep it kind of, a little informal if you want. If something's pretty critical to the topic at hand, I can kind of nudge and interrupt a little bit if that's okay, and we'll get your questions answered. Otherwise, I'll do the best I can to help you out. And also keep an eye out after this. We're going to be sending out a link to the recording. So for anybody that missed it, join late, anything like that, you'll be able to just hop in, check out the recording, and cover any topics that you might have missed. But again, we have a wealth of information here for you. We're going to get into the NPU for accelerated AI workloads, CPU power delivery, memory overclocking, PCI Express Gen 5 support. So it's going to be a lot. So buckle in and get ready. So with that being said, David, if you want to take it from here, thank you very much. Look forward to hearing your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, hey, good afternoon, folks. Happy Friday. As Mitch said, I am David Bartley. I'm an account manager here at Intel supporting our distribution business. And I'm going to kick off the presentation today by talking about Intel Core Ultra 200 series, also known, codenamed Arrow Lake. But before we jump in, I did want to take a second to get a feel for our audience and really understand what is most important to you when you are evaluating a new PC refresh, whether yourself or your customers. So the first thing we're going to do is a quick poll. So if you wouldn't mind, let's see. Oh, sorry, folks. There we go. My apologies. So really quick, when you are refreshing a new device or you're thinking about an Intel processor, which feature is most important to you, right? Is it really around the overall performance? You're saying, I don't care, if it's a slight premium, I'm looking for bleeding edge performance. Or do you say, hey, I'm putting this into a micro ATX, small profile case, and I need thermals and power efficiency to be really top of mind? Or are you saying, I want to dip my toes into some of these new accelerated AI features and take advantage of the built-in NPU? Or finally, do you say, look, all of these features are really important, and I really take them all into account based on the overall cost? Now, if you're doing the polling question, I wanted to let you know there's going to be 4 of these in the training today. And if you participate in the polling question, you're going to be thrown into a raffle to potentially receive a $25 Uber Eats gift card. So for everybody that participates, you'll definitely get that option. So let me pause for a second and let you evaluate and make your determination. Okay, let's take a look at what we have here, team. Okay, really interesting. All right, so it looks like we have a relatively even split. We have some folks that say value for cost is everything, right? And then it seems like we have another half that really thinks overall performance, just the overall faster speeds, even at a premium, is going to be top of mind for them. So that definitely helps myself and Michael as we talk through today's training, but I really appreciate you participating. Okay, so team, just to give you a feel of the agenda, we're going to go over a bit of the high-level value props within Core Ultra Arrow Lake. Talk a bit, pop open the hood and talk about the platform in deeper detail, and then we're going to switch over to some of the performance metrics, not just for gaming, but single-threaded, multi-threaded rendering versus previous gen, as well as the competition. So I'll start with this slide and say, if there's anything that you remember from today's presentation, this is the slide I hope you digest, because these are some of the key points we really want to call out. So as we start with power efficiency or performance and efficiency, you can see we're seeing pretty solid gen-on-gen performance with a 15% increase in multi-threaded versus Raptor Lake refresh. But look at this, folks, at a 58% lower power. And this is something we're really proud of in this product, is that we're seeing equal performance with drastic reduction in wattage. And you'll see that throughout the presentation. Of course, you also have some really cool platform advantages with Arrow Lake that you may not have had previously, of course, with Wi-Fi 7 and Thunderbolt 5. Now, I'll say these do not come standard in the platform. You have to work with a partner that is designed to utilize these discrete options, and our friends at ASUS are leading the way in that front. So when we talk about Wi-Fi 7 and Thunderbolt 5, we'll get into those. Those are products that, of course, you'll find on ASUS motherboards. And then, of course, we'll finish up with a little bit about the NPU. And this is the first desktop product from Intel that has not just a CPU in it, but a built-in GPU and NPU, also known as a neural processing unit, designed to start taking advantage of some of these new AI workloads. And so this gives you the ability to start dipping your toe into those use cases. Okay. So before I jump into the actual platform details, I want to make sure you knew what products are out there for distribution. So today we have the two different options you see here. We have our S-series SKUs that run at 65 watts, as well as our K-series SKUs that run at 125 watts. And if you're not familiar with the use cases for these two different products, the S-series is definitely more built for mainstream purposes, right? So think about day-to-day business tasks, Office Suite, web browsing apps, things that are just general purpose. But as you start to get into, higher performance workloads like video editing, photo editing, gaming, right? That's where the K series is really going to shine. It has higher frequencies with their cores, but also because it's a K SKU, has the ability to be overclocked, unlike the S SKU. So I want to make sure before we jump into those details, you knew that product and those differences in the S and the K series. All right, so now let's review the platform details at the 30,000 foot view. So this product comes standard with Thunderbolt 4, but as I just mentioned, if you work with ASUS, you can actually take advantage of Thunderbolt 5. It comes with HDMI and DisplayPort 2.1. You see an increase in mega transfers within the memory to 6400. Still get 20 lanes of PCIe 5 traffic, still get the gigabyte of Ethernet, but of course it comes standard with Wi-Fi 6E, but if you, again, work with ASUS, you can take advantage of the Wi-Fi 7 platform as well. So that is the platform at a high level. Now, let's move into some of these features that you may be familiar with, but maybe don't know all the details about just yet. And one of those I really want to call out is Thunderbolt. So we're probably all familiar with Thunderbolt and its general purpose uses, right? It's basically like a Autobahn highway between devices that gives you ultra low latency, high bandwidth ability to transfer files and do some other really cool things. So, the typical use cases is, if you want to do massive file transfer, Thunderbolt is the way to go. I believe Gen 5 of Thunderbolt or Thunderbolt 5 can transfer between 80 and 120 gigs per second. So it's screaming fast. But you can also use this technology for display purposes too. So you want to run dual 4K screens, Thunderbolt's going to be the answer to that. Or maybe one 8K screen, Thunderbolt's got you covered. The other use case we're seeing for this that's really neat is folks utilizing discrete GPUs and integrating it into devices that maybe weren't designed to have a discrete GPU. So you could think of a laptop that's typically used for general purpose. You can use a Thunderbolt cable because it utilizes PCIe traffic. You attach it to an external GPU, and boom, now you have a gaming laptop. But the piece that you may not be aware of are the Thunderbolt share software features that I really wanted to call out. So when you think about having two different devices, one of the cumbersome problems with that is having to have two different sets of peripherals, right? In my use case right here, I have my work laptop, but also I have my personal desktop sitting below my desk as well. And today I use a KVM switch to go through my peripherals, and frankly, it works about 50, 65% of the time. Oftentimes, one of the peripherals won't connect properly, and so I have to reset it multiple times before everything really works. With Thunderbolt 4 and 5, you could connect these devices, right? And the Thunderbolt share software will pop up and ask if you want to be able to manage both devices with the same peripherals. And what it'll do is from the screen that you're using for device 1, pop up a window that you can utilize for device 2, that allows you to basically do all KVM access you normally would with device one on that device two. And so usually when you're working through like an instance in a window, you expect a lot of lag. If you're watching video, you see a delay and the lips moving in the audio. That is not the case with Thunderbolt. It runs at 60 frames per second, smooth frame rates all the way through. So that's a great way to be able to utilize the same peripherals. The other piece of it too is the drag and drop file feature. So again, when you plug in that Thunderbolt cord into those devices, it's going to pop open that software and say, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to manage peripherals or do you want to share some files? If you say share files, it'll open up both file managers in that pane and allow you to quickly drag and drop those, right? To where you can be doing other things simultaneously while those transfers are happening. And so it just makes that file transfer process so much easier. So again, you're going to get these slides after the presentation. There is a video in the bottom left corner that if you want to see this in real time and see how this is actually done, we have a great presentation of that and showing not just the screen share for peripherals, but also the file share. Okay, so again, team, I did want to call out that this is the first product from Intel on the desktop form factor built with a neural processing unit. And I just really wanted to call out in today's presentation that we recognize that it makes no sense to develop new silicon if you're not working with your partners and ISVs to develop and optimize their software to take advantage of that new silicon, right? So I am proud to say Intel is leading the way in that AI PC development with over 400 ISV optimized features today. We are on track to have at least 430 by the end of the year. So funny enough, many of the softwares you may be using today have a built-in feature that can take advantage of this new NPU or GPU series inside of Core Ultra. And you may just never knew about it. But I just wanted to call out that, again, developing the silicon is only one half the battle, right? We are constantly working with these ISVs to make sure we continue to optimize their software to take advantage of these and develop new emerging use cases for their software. Okay, so team, now that we've talked a bit about the platform, we've talked about some of those features, right? Let's get into the performance of this product and really walk you through single-threaded, multi-threaded gaming and rendering performance. Okay, so you heard me mention this at the beginning of the presentation, but I just want to call this out again. We are extremely proud of the product we've created in regards to its reduction in needed power. So when we talk about gaming, Arrow Lake slashes the need for power, right? And this is huge, right? You look in this example, up to 79 watts lower power versus just Raptor Lake refresh alone. Again, that's not 10th gen versus Core Ultra 200. That is previous gen. So that is a drastic gen-on-gen improvement. We're very excited about that. And so, as you're building a system, you can think that what may have needed a three-fan cooler previously when overclocking, because of reduction in wattage, may only need a dual fan cooler, right? So you could see how this reduction is going to help in the overall build in a variety of ways. But again, very excited about this reduction in power. Okay, so team, before we go into some of these additional benchmarks, I also just want to provide some background on how we see the landscape of our users and how they're utilizing these products. So I will first say, team, our competition is doing some incredible things in the market. I'll openly tip my hat to Lisa Su and what AMD's been doing in the gaming CPU space. They've come out with some incredible products. And, I am a representative of Intel, but I'm also a consumer of these products. And I personally like to think that when AMD and Intel are at their best, creating the best products, we as consumers win, right? And so, yeah, AMD's got some options, definitely with their 3D cache technology, where some of their gaming-only workloads are definitely going to have, a performance improvement versus maybe some of Intel's. But where it really changes the game is when we survey those users. They're not just doing gaming, right? Take a look at this slide right here, team. So when we surveyed the user base, we saw that 67% were doing not just gaming, but also some kind of content creation at least once a week. So they're using these PCs or these gaming PCs for multi-purpose, right? And so I want to keep that in mind as we look at the next few slides. So when we evaluate customers that are not just gaming, but are simultaneously streaming and recording, We think that's where the big little architecture of Intel, where we have big performance cores and little E cores designed to take on different tasks, really shines. So in this example, we showed that when our 285 flagship, 285K, versus the competition's 9950X, you'll see in this case, the Hitman 3 up to 16 higher frames per second, right? So again, if you're doing gaming alone, we can have a different conversation there. But when you're doing these things simultaneously, it really shows that having this all-around Core Ultra 200 really shines. But let's dive into different products and how they compare to the competition. So as you can see, this is our 285K competing against AMD's flagship 9950X. And generally speaking, we're going to be pretty much on par in, gaming performance, content creation, and office productivity. But again, we have a slight leg up on the competition because not only do we have better multi-threaded performance, but when you do all of these different workloads simultaneously, we're seeing again that 16 performance improvement, giving us about a 6% overall advantage when we consider all these different workloads versus the competition. So for folks that are looking at doing not just gaming, but recording and streaming or any kind of video or photo editing, Intel Core Ultra 200 is going to be the way to go. And again, here is our 285K versus AMD's 9800X with 3D cache, right? And so again, tip my hat to them. This 3D cache technology is really cool and has some pretty significant improvements when it comes to gaming. Now, when we compare it to the 285K, this is what you see. We see about a 15% better improvement in content creation and 6% in productivity. I do want to be candid about this piece here. So we are on par with them when it comes to 4K gaming. They do have a leg up on us or a slight higher performance improvement when it comes to 1440p and 1080p gaming. We do see them have a little bit of a leg up there. But our single-threaded performance is better. And then when you look at multi-threaded performance using the 3D cache processors, it's a drastic change, right? So you see 62% better multi-threaded, giving us, for general purpose across all workloads, a 16% overall better performance. Okay, so I also want to make sure we're calling out some of the non-flagship products too, because most folks are going to be buying within that 5 and 7 bin stacks, right? Not everybody's going to be buying the highest end 9 series. So all said, this is our 265K versus the 9900X. And as you see, really here, to be honest, we're pretty much neck and neck when it comes to competing with them in the 265K. So again, we're on par when it comes to office productivity, content creation, and gaming. We have a slight multi-threaded performance improvement and maybe a slight improvement when it comes to simultaneous workloads. But just being candid overall, we're generally on par with each other when it comes to those different workloads. So a great product on both sides of the fence. Now, of course, when we go to the Ultra 5 series, this is going to be the most broad brush product, right? Because most people, if we had to survey the market, normally fit within that Core Ultra 5 bin stack. And here you, of course, can see an 8% overall improvement. Yep, I will say their 9600X does a bit better in gaming, but when it comes to multi-threaded, we really outperform that product. And so again, when you take all of these different workloads into consideration, you see we have roughly around an 8% overall performance improvement versus that competition. Okay, so I also want to give you a review of some of the synthetic benchmarks like Geekbench and Cinebench and how these products are performing in single-threaded and multi-threaded workloads. So you see here, we're looking at Intel's Core Ultra 265 non-K processor versus AMD Ryzen's 8700G. And you can see within Geekbench, we saw a 11% performance improvement versus single-threaded, a 47% improvement when it came to multi-threaded, right? And within Cinebench, we saw a 22% improvement in single-threaded, and again, a 41% improvement when it comes to multi-threaded. So really, when it comes to single or multi-threaded workloads, comparing these products, I think it's a no-brainer that the 265 is the right choice. All right, now looking lower in the stack, we look at the 225, again, non-K versus the 8600G. And not quite the performance jumps we saw from the previous slide, but again, still a great story. 7% increase versus single-threaded on Geekbench and a 29% for multi-threaded. Cinebench, or Geekbench, excuse me. Cinebench, 16% for single-threaded, 25% for multi-threaded, folks. And I will say, part of this too, this is a platform story as well, right? So it's not just the processor performance difference, but the fact that these different competitive platforms have a different setting for the memory too. So Intel's Core Ultra does run at a higher memory speed than AMD, and that does play an effect in the overall performance. So, I want to say that while it's not just the CPU, but also the whole platform that tells the story together. All right, so now let's talk about rendering performance. Okay, so this is looking at some previous gen and kind of telling that story of the 3-year-old PC refresh. So when we look at Intel's 3-year-old PCs or legacy PCs, that's really our 12th gen Alder Lake series, right? So this was the first generation. We came out with that big little architecture that I referenced earlier in the conversation, and you can just see, folks, it's again just a no-brainer. When we look at the 12600 versus the 245K, Blender 4.0, we got a 48% improvement there, so significant. When we look at the 265 versus the 12700K, 65%. And again, showing off our flagship from Core Ultra 200 versus our flagship in Alder Lake, 75% Blender improvement. So if your customers or you folks are doing any kind of rendering from legacy hardware, it is an absolute, again, no-brainer to switch over to Intel Core Ultra 200. Okay, so I also wanted to call this out too, is the new addition of the 200 series Boost overclocking profile. Now again, you're not going to get this overclocking profile with just any motherboard company, by the way. I'm proud to say ASUS is absolutely leading the way by having this technology integrated into their system. So I tip my hat again to our ASUS team and all the collaboration they've done to make Arrow Lake such a successful product. But what's really cool about this, folks, is with just a touch of a button, right? It utilizes the memory overclocking to take your XMP memory up to 8,000, as well as it increases the die-to-die tile traffic to 3.2 gigahertz. So what this means, though, is that when you're able to single-click that, we see on average around a 7 to 8% overclocking performance improvement in gaming. But here's the kicker, team, where in previous generations, once you start overclocking, you start to get in that area where you're beginning to void the warranty. If you use this overclocking profile, you can get that overclocking improvement while still maintaining the warranty of your Intel processor. So this is huge, right? For those folks that want that overclocking, but they don't want to. They're afraid of burning out the processor and not being able to get a return or a replacement. Utilizing this ensures you keep within warranty. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the performance of overclocking with the insurance that, hey, you're still under warranty for that 3-year term. All right, so team, we've gone through a variety of different things. Again, we've gone through the overall platform story. We've talked about those different features and what you can get. We've also, of course, talked about the performance, right, and how that works within single-threaded, multi-threaded gaming. We've seen it all. But I also want to make sure you knew that we have a big pricing update that began at the launch at the beginning of the month, where for our Core Ultra 7K and KF series, we have a $40 discount. So you'll see that across our 265K and 265KF. So if you were on the fence for refreshing, right, maybe with that $40 discount, that pushes you over the edge to get that refresh done. So I want to make sure we saw that. Okay, so team, just to wrap up my side of the presentation, again, just want to tie a bow around this and just kind of keep our points simple. If you're looking at Intel Core Ultra 200 versus the competition, just know that this really is a stronger product when it comes to all around use cases, right? Not just gaming, but content creation as well. And as well with the increase in the improvements we've made to the silicon, you're going to get great, cool performance with Intel that you may not have seen from previous generations. Now, of course, if you're looking at upgrading from legacy Intel, I mean, it's just, again, a no-brainer, right? Up to 82% better multi-threaded performance in Cinebench versus our flagship 1200 or 12900K, and seeing significantly better gaming performance. In this example, 62% better FPS on Watch Dogs. So now that we've finished up the presentation, I have one more polling question for you folks. So now that you've seen all the content today, I want to ask, what resonated the most with you? Out of these different features, was the NPU interesting to you, or was the low power consumption really that value? Or was it maybe that, hey, because it's an all-around system, having that 60% better performance in simultaneous workloads, that really hit home? Or is it really around the multi-threaded? So let me pause and I'll let you folks jump in. And again, everybody who participates is going to be put into a raffle for one of those $25 gift cards. All right, looks like we got 12 folks. Oh, just jumped up to 22. Perfect. I'll give it 10 more seconds. Okay, let's see our results. Very interesting. So it sounds like a lot of folks are really interested in not just the multi-threaded performance versus the competition, but the NPU as well. That is extremely exciting. So, to tell that story, folks, the NPU story is just going to be getting better as time goes on. And I'm really excited to see that you all have an interest in dipping into these new AI workloads on AI PC with Intel. Okay, so that is the end of my side of the presentation. Without further ado, I guess I'm going to pass it to Michael, who's going to lead off on the ASUS side. Michael, take it away, sir.
All right. Thank you, David. That was really great information of all the technology and improvement of the Core Ultra CPU. So again, my name is Michael, and I'm the field sales engineer for ASUS. So just quickly off the bat, we do have two business groups. So we do have our SBG, which just handle the system side of the business or laptop, and I'm on the component side. So I'll go through today on the our desktop motherboard solution that are able to enable you guys to unlock the full potential of the Core Ultra CPU. Okay. So I know many of you know when it comes to motherboard, right? ASUS, with over 3 decades of providing motherboard support so to our customer, we're very humble to be recognized, globally as the #1 prestigious brand when it's come to motherboard. I think the main reason is we have very good, strong R&D in house, and also we provide a broad product portfolio. You see here, I'll quickly go over the segmentation of motherboards that we have to offer. So on the gaming side, on the left hand side, as you know, our Republic of Gamer ROG, which is our flagship, dedicated for those high-end gamers, enthusiast customer, right? And of course the overclocker, right? And then we do have in parallel to that ROG Strict, and then our tough gaming, which is built on durable and affordability for a customer. And it's a great entry to mainstream for gamer. And we also have Prime in parallel to tough. That's a lot of our system integrator choose the Prime series to build for their customer. And we also have ProArts motherboard we introduced with our whole ecosystem that's dedicated for the creators and the professional customer. We also have, of course, workstation board for professional workload, and also CSM motherboard that is ideal for the government tender and also SMB client. Okay. And then for when you talk about AI, right, we really take full advantage of the Core Ultra CPU and couple that with our technology, hardware and software. So we optimize in the new generation of boards for a lot of AI feature that we have. Some of them named here that I'll touch more detail on, which is AI overclocking, AI cooling, networking, two-way noise cancellation, and as well as our new AI advisor. Okay. First, on the AI intelligent feature that we have is AI overclocking. So this is a quick way of enable customer or user to basically quickly overclocking their system to help optimize the configuration, right? With a push of a system setting in the BIOS and also a feature that will enable it. It will actually learn your system based on performance, cooling, and each reboot, it will allow you to, you know, hit a higher frequency or overclock the system to optimize the overall system. And then we couple that with AI cooling technology. So imagine getting a high performance system at a lower noise level overall with all the system fan as well as your CPU fan as well. And then AI networking as well to combine with the technology that we have to continuously optimize the network performance for your overall system experience. Okay. And then as far as the Wi-Fi also technology, right? As you know, many of you know, the OS has fully supported Wi-Fi 7 now. So to take full advantage of the fast speed, uh, over 46 gigabits per second speed and lower latency, and wider channel support, we have this AI networking 2 technology that's built in to help you monitor the traffic as well as quick check and the directional finder to help user detect the optimal antenna orientation to achieve the best Wi-Fi connectivity. And we introduced our new AI assistant for a DIY experience. You can you can say this is like a chat box that's exclusive to ASUS feature. So if you're new to ASUS, we'll help you understand a lot of our BIOS features, software setting, and help you inquire on obtaining information. For example, specific motherboard feature, and in the BIOS to help simplify your knowledge about all the ASUS feature that we have, because we have definitely incorporate a lot of feature that will help you to have the best overall experience with your motherboard and system, right? For example, overclocking capability, hardware related feature, and also a lot of our software. Okay. And as David mentioned, right, with the new platform, you're able to hit higher memory frequency. And for ASUS, or overclocking, um, we basically dominated in this market. As you can see, we have a lot of award-winning motherboards that can hit frequency overclocking, 9,000 or beyond, with a lot of our technology that we introduced first to the market, and some exclusive feature from ASUS, which is right here, the Nitro Pad technology that we have that improve the signal routing, right, and shorten the golden finger pins to enhance overclock and headroom capability. And of course, we also have other technology like the DIM Fit, also the AEMP3, which help you to overclock even on generic memory that is not on our QVL list. So a lot of time we do recommend QVL list, but customers sometimes, maybe for any reason they cannot purchase the memory on the QVL list. This will help them enable an OC like just generic memory. And we also have, of course, DIM Flex and something David touched about with the NPU Boost that we have to enable you to overclock the NPU as well with one click, increasing this overall system performance. And then to be able to unlock the full potential of course, the Core Ultra CPU, you want to have a motherboard that able to handle the single core performance as well as multi-core performance. So with ASUS, all of our motherboard, built with high quality components, especially our ROG, Maximus boards, because we understand power user, enthusiast user, they're gonna want to be able to push their component, um, to the limit and get the best performance overall. So you can see here some of the power stage that we use to ensure that we're able to, have them hit those frequency, but able to sustain those performance as well. Okay. And then one of the biggest advantages of having the latest technology is PCIe 5.0, right? And the biggest, I would say, performance improvement would be on the SSD. So with the latest generation PCI 5 SSD, they do give you, fast speed, write, read, but they do run hot. So we do have our exclusive 3D V CM.2 heatsink that help to improve 10% cooler of the overall temperature compared to traditional heatsink. So that'll give you the higher efficiency and performance out of your SSD and system overall. And then, as mentioned earlier, we do have, world-class in-house RD. So ASUS able to work closely with our partners, community, to be able to know to introduce the latest and greatest. We call it easy PC DIY feature that a lot of user, but also, system integrator appreciate. Some of them are listed here, like our PCI slot Q release, able to help you, remove large GPU when you test them or install into new system effortlessly, as well as our Q antenna and the M.2 release. Basically, a tool-free installation of the SSD, M.2 Q slide that enable you to latch and support different sizes of drive, and also the M.2 Q latch, which is another tool free for installing the SSD. So a lot of PC DIY feature that we have added to our overall motherboard series. So here just a glance for you of the ROG board. So again, this is one of our most premium feature motherboards. Rich in feature, and of course the aesthetic design I believe is second to none. We do have different ID aesthetic from the Hero to Extreme and the Apex color scheme, and a lot of the feature that I can't go over all of these slides, but you can visit our website to get all the detailed spec information, because all the motherboards that I'm going through today are available now, okay, in the market. And of course, optimized for PCI 5.0 support. So all of our motherboards will have the latest, when it comes to PCI 5.0 for your M.2 slot, as well as PCIe, and a lot of feature on there. So you're able to get support from the PCIe 5.0 as well as the SSD drive. Okay. And then the versatile USB port, as David mentioned, in this generation, the chipset will give you four, a lot of the latest USB I/O connectivity with Thunderbolt 4. But with ASUS, we also added Thunderbolt 5 on a lot of our high-end motherboards. So you're gonna get that full advantage of fast charging, up to 60 watts, and the overall variable output and compatibility. And this is very big, not only for, like David mentioned, for gamers, but also creator, content professional, having that I/O and Thunderbolt, enable them to transfer right data faster, because they'll be working with like 4K, 8K video at a time, and then giving that flexibility to support up to 3 display out of the Thunderbolt. And then, as many of you know, for ASUS, we're known to have, bias and UEFI excellence, and we added more features to it. So you can see here, this is one of our new feature. It's called bias Q dash. So in the UEFI bias, you're able to quickly see, all of the live activity component that you connected into the motherboard, right? As well as be able to control the fan curve and speed in there. So this just show you some of our motherboard that has the LCD display, right, on the high-end board. We do understand, those enthusiast high-end customer, they do want to differentiate their build and rig, so they won't be able to customize their system and their motherboard, right? So not only will you be able to use the default ASUS provided logo, but you can also customize the image, or also just having the display showing the hardware monitoring of your CPU voltage, temperature, and fan curve. And here's just a glance of our ROG strict boards that we have to offer. So you can see we have different form factor solution that we offer, from ITX to HCX solution. And same, we do have a lot of DIY friendly design that we have added into the strict board. And one of you know feature is the BIOS flashback as well. It enable client to quickly update the BIOS without installing their major hardware. You just need to have power connected to it, and you'll be able to update the firmware as well as the QLED to quickly help you, troubleshoot your motherboard if there's any issue during boot up or when you set up your system. Okay? And a lot of the other feature that I already mentioned, the Q latch, Q release, those are all included. And this is the tough lineup that we have, the boards. So like I mentioned earlier, these are very good for a mainstream to entry segment system builder, like maybe a student or someone new to building their own system. This is one of our popular SKUs that we have. It has all of the feature of the platform, key feature that you're able to support the latest Intel Core CPU as well as the multiple PCI Gen support, but at a more cost-effective solution. Okay. We also included the Easy DIY feature on our tough motherboard as well. And the Prime series, as mentioned earlier, this is very popular with our system integrator partners. A lot of them use our Prime board to build for their customer. Again, the product overview has all the essential supported feature. Okay, we have them in different form factor from ATX, micro ATX as well. Okay. And since it's target for a system integrator, we also added the QLED core to enable customer to help debug their system on the fly during the post-on test. So you'll be able to detect if there's memory issue, maybe VGA, boot devices, and installation complete. Okay. And we also have B series boards available. So this will be ideal to maybe with the i5 series of CPU. And this is our ProArt motherboard. So as mentioned earlier, it's dedicated for creative professional. So it supports, of course, the latest Intel CPU, as well as for those content creators that maybe need more GPU power. So you're able to install multiple GPU and high speed data transfer. So we have that Thunderbolt 5. Also, all of our ProArts will have the dual LAN support, up to 10 gig support for faster transcoding and data transfer. Okay. And so that's pretty much wrap up the desktop side of the motherboard that we have to offer to enable customer to, like I said, unleash the full potential of the Core Ultra CPU. And if you have any further questions, you can definitely contact D&H or ASUS. We'll definitely help you, provide you more information. I do have some poll question that I would like to ask. The first one would be, which ASUS Intel motherboard series do you prefer the most? From going through my deck, I know I didn't go over a lot of information, but I think enough information for you to kind of get the idea of, our flagship motherboard, and then or more of a mainstream, and a board that's dedicated to, creator. So here on the list, I'll give you guys a couple minutes here to submit. Okay. I think we can go to the next one. Okay, awesome. So ROG Maximus, yeah, definitely the Prime series are one of a popular SKU that we have. Like I mentioned, a lot of system integrated, they build a lot of the Prime series board for their customers. So that's definitely a really good SKU that's more of a entry to mainstream, and with the price point as well that fit a lot of customer needs. And the second poll question, what feature do you value the most in ASUS Intel motherboards? And so the feature I kind of went through, the AI feature that we have, BIOS UEFI interface, also the aesthetic and the customized compatibility that you have. Also a lot of our DIY feature of course, the build quality and the overclocking capability. Okay. So I'll give it some time here for you guys to submit your. Right, give it a couple seconds here. I do see 68% submitted. Okay, looks like we have over 70 build quality and overclock capability. So definitely, yeah, we understand. You definitely want a quality motherboard and system for overall performance, as well as able to achieve that overclocking capability. So that's in line of what I'm thinking of build quality when you think about ASUS product and pair with Intel processor. So you're definitely going to get that build quality overall, and also be able to hit that overclocking capability. So thank you for that submission. All right, that pretty much conclude my portion. So I'll hand it back to the NH team.
Thanks, Michael. Really, really appreciate your time. And David as well. And thank you, everybody, again, for joining us today. I don't even think I introduced myself at the beginning of this, but I see a lot of familiar names in the attendee list. So great to see all of you. Again, my name is Mitch Flickinger, sales engineer at D&H Distributing. You can feel free to reach out with any Intel questions. I'm kind of a catch-all internally these days. I know a lot of you dealt with me on the server side, but I've been pretty deep into the client side as well. So happy to help. We have ASUS specialist teams as well. We have the Intel specialist Alias on there as well. We also have Taylor. So plenty of resources for you to reach out to. Anything we can't answer, we can always reach out to engineers over at Intel and ASUS. So we got plenty of support options to answer any questions you might have. I saw a couple of the questions come up about tariffs. That's a real kind of iffy subject at the moment. A lot of details kind of floating around there. A lot of unknowns as well. So reach out internally. We'll get you more information kind of as we learn more. There's only so much we can do, but we can at least try to give you some sort of heads up so you can keep up with what's coming. So I know if you have orders on deck and all that, last thing you want is a surprise price change or anything like that. So definitely reach out. Again, we're going to send a follow-up email with a link to the recording. So if you join late, no problem there. You can just go back and rewatch whatever you missed. And yeah, that was a ton of information. Hope this was useful for you. Again, thank you so much for being here, and also keep an eye out for the gift cards David had mentioned regarding the polling questions. And yeah, anything, we'll leave the Q&A open here for a little bit yet. So if you have questions, feel free to pop them in. And thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. Great seeing you all. Take care.